Hello, my name is Mike. My name is Mark, and we are students of Ghana Christian International High School, and we urge you all to subscribe to HisGov TV. Link in bio.
Hello there, you're welcome to HisGov TV. Before we begin with our discussions today, I would like to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And should in case you have also subscribed, we thank you very much for your support. This is the only channel where you get access to WASI history lessons based on the YX syllabus. So currently we are focusing on history, CRS, as well as government. And pretty soon we'll be adding more subjects to it. Social studies will join us very soon. And then also we will also add more of the art courses in there. So we also go into tourists. We also visit tourist attractions in the country. And then also we also do some world history where we look at trending topics in historical of course happenings. And so that is what this channel is about. And so if you are interested, please kindly click on the red subscription button for you to get a notification of our content. So in our last video, or in our last lessons, we were looking at the formation of the United Gold Coast Convention, the UGGC. We specifically looked at the reasons for the formation of the UGGC, and then also we looked at some of the aims of the UGGC. And so if you recall, by way of reminding ourselves, we said that some of the reasons for the organization of the UGGC was because the educated elite felt alienated. We also said because of trade monopolization, which was happening, trade being controlled by the Syrians and the Lebanese traders, as well as discrimination in civil service, and also the grievances of the ex-servicemen whose promises were not fulfilled by the colonial governor. And so if you missed that lesson, I will include the link in the description under this video as the RPK, so that you click on it and then you watch that video. I'll also include the link here. Look on your right hand side, top of course right corner of this video. There is a video that will pop up over there. You can also click on there to watch the video on our previous lesson, the reasons and the aims of the UGGC. Yes, so today we are focusing on the achievement and the failures of the UGGC party. And so after today's lessons, then we will bring the topic or the subject UGGC to an end, and then we will focus on a new topic. So today our topic mainly still on the UGGC part 2. We are going to look at the achievements of the UGGC party and the failures of the UGGC party. So we said that the UGGC party was the first political party which was formed in the country on 4th August 1947. And that explains the reason why today the president of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, says that the 4th August should be considered as the Founders' Day instead of the traditional September 1, which was on the birthday of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, 21st September. And so it is because of the formation, the founding day of the UGGC. That is why the President of the Republic says that day should be considered as the Founders' Day, and as such should be a holiday for the whole country to observe and recognize the immense contribution of these people to achieving independence for the country. So let's begin with our lesson objectives for today. So our lesson objectives for today is simple. It's for us to be able to state the achievements, state the achievements of the UGGC party. We said the UGGC party was aimed at achieving certain things as a political party. And so the issue is, were they able to achieve the things that we learned in our previous discussions? And so if they were able to do that, then we would term it as an achievement. But in a situation where they were not able to do, then it becomes a failure. So it is very important that you visit our previous lesson to actually watch the aims of the UGCC party, right? Because it is very, very important and very, very crucial. Good. So let's begin. Let's see the next lesson objectives. It's for us to be able to identify the failures of the UGCC party. So we should be able to identify some of the failures of the UGCC party. And the failures are basically going to be what the party was not able to achieve for itself, or what it set for itself and was not able to achieve. That is going to be the failure of the UGCC. So good. Let's, without wasting much time, let's go in there and look at some of the achievements of the UGCC party. So the first achievement of the UGCC party was that the party became so popular that by 1948, that is a year after its establishment, had about 209 branches open throughout the country. Okay, so throughout the Gold Coast, the UGCC party was able to open 209 branches, and these branches were possible because of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's immense contribution to the development of the UGGC. So when Nkrumah was invited from London to be the full-time secretary of the UGCC, he spearheaded the UGCC. He rallied around the whole country looking for support for the UGCC, and so Nkrumah's contribution was very, very, very critical in making sure that the country or the party had or wins or was able to establish 209 branches throughout the whole country. Now the question is, why is this an achievement? This is an achievement because all the nationalist movement that had been formed, the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, the NCBWA, the youth movements and co, did not open branches in the country or throughout the country. Like I indicated in our previous lesson, they were concerned about only a section, a part of the country. So if it is the Gold Coast, among the Gold Coast, if it is the Fanti land, only among the Fanti land. And so for this political party to be able to open 209 branches in all the countries, we say that it was indeed an achievement for the UGCC. For the first time to have political parties opening or having branches in most part of the country. Good. Let's look at the second one. Now, the party was also able to bring the educated elite, both in the diaspora as well as on the continent, together to step up the struggle to end colonial rule or to end colonialism. Don't forget that this was the only party or only nationalist movement that was able to bring together educated elite, people who had been to school, who had knowledge, from the Western education, both in the diaspora. People in the diaspora, when we say diaspora, we are talking about people or Ghanaians who live outside Ghana, so who lived abroad, okay, or studying abroad. This party was able to merge or bring together these two important people in the country, the educated elite, both in the diaspora as well as the continent. And a typical example was when Ako Ejei introduced Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to the UGCC, or recommended Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to the UGCC, and said that he knew, somebody who was equally passionate about politics, about independence, about liberation of the African people, and therefore Kwame Nkrumah was sent for, and he was invited by Power Grant and some members of the CPP to come down to the country to aid in the struggle to end colonization. And indeed, we all can witness how important the coming of Nkrumah was to the party's struggle against independence, or even the party's effort to achieve independence. We all can testify to the immense contribution that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah placed in to help the country to achieve independence. Good. Let's take a look at the third one. So the third one was that the UGCC party also became a platform where the grievances of Africans were articulated. So Africans also had a platform, or the CPP gave Africans a platform which enabled Africans to criticize some of the colonial practices that the colonial administration or the colonial governors were into. So certain things that the educated elite felt wrong, they of course criticized that through the use of the political party or through the platform of the political party. So it gave Africans, it gave the Ghanaians the platform to voice out any grievances that they felt were being perpetuated by their colonial masters, right? Good. Let's look at the fourth one. The leadership of the party was also able to take advantage of the 1948 route to accelerate independent process. So the 1948 route will be the next lesson that we will be studying. Now, let me give you just a brief introduction to the 1948 route. The 1948 route was actually a disturbance that occurred on February 24, 1948, and it started in Accra, whereby Ghanaians decided to loot or steal goods that were in foreign shops that were owned by either the Syrians or the Lebanese or the Europeans. So, I mean, for instance, in Ghana, let's take a shop like Melcom, for instance, whereby Ghanaians decide to storm Melcom because Melcom belongs to a Lebanese person. I stand to be corrected, though. So they storm there, and then they decide to steal or take away every item in Melcom. That is what the 1948 route was about. And this route occurred simultaneously all throughout the whole country. Whilst Accra, it began in Accra, then it was replicated in many parts of the country. Kumasi and Co, they all followed, where shops that belonged to foreign firms were being destroyed and the items were being taken away. Now, after the route, what happened was that the leaders of the UGCC were accused of being behind the route, and so they were imprisoned by the colonial authorities. And then, so that imprisonment made these leaders become very famous because people felt, towards them, and so their imprisonment made them to become famous. And then people, began to rally behind them in trying to achieve independence for the country. And so that is how these political leaders or these UGCC party members used the 1948 route, to accelerate the independence process. And indeed, when you look at the independence struggle, the 1948 route was a turning point. It was a watershed in the Ghanaian history, okay? And so that is why we are saying that it is very, very important. So they labeled on the 1948 route to rally support, to get sympathizers from the people, and the people also supporting them to achieve the cause of their independence. Let's take a look at the last one of their achievement. The next one was that the UGCC also was successful in establishing a newspaper called the Talking Drums newspaper for a political education of the people. At this time, majority of the Ghanaians or of Africans were not educated, and so very often they did not know the implications of some of the policies or some of the colonial policies that were being instituted. And it's not even surprising. Today, majority of Ghanaians don't even know what happens in Parliament. They don't even care about what happens in Parliament. They don't understand because they are not educated to understand some of the policies that are being implemented by the government, being it tax reforms, being it, of course, housing projects, whatsoever. Ghanaians are really, most of us, because we are not educated, we don't care. But the Parliament is there for us. Every decision taken in Parliament is assumed that all Ghanaians have agreed to that decision. And so the Talking Drum was a newspaper established by the UGCC to educate Ghanaians on some of the colonial policies that were being introduced by these colonial masters. And so if it was good, they would, of course, they would bring it out. If it had bad effects, they would spell out the effect of the various colonial policies that were being implemented by the colonial masters. And so the Talking Drum was really a political tool for the UGCC in trying to, get support or governance support from the local people. Good. So I hope you are good with the achievement of the UGCC. If you are asked to state some of the achievement, I know that you will be able to do that correctly. Let's take a look at the failures. What were they not able to achieve as a political party? Good. So one of the failure of the UGCC was that the UGCC failed to win self-government for the people through legal and constitutional means. You recall in our previous lesson about the aims of the UGCC. We said that they hope to achieve independence through legal and constitutional means, okay, whereby the controlling of the affairs of the country would be in the hands of the African through legal and constitutional means, and that is the self-government within the shortest possible time. However, it will interest you to know that the UGCC did not win independence or did not achieve independence or self-government for the people of Ghana today. This thing should be emphasized because it looks like they are taking the credit away from the CPP. They are making it look as if it was the UGCC that won independence. Indeed, their activities helped in achieving independence, but truly independence was achieved by the CPP. Okay, so it wasn't achieved by the UGCC, even though they had begun. They played a role. So I think the record should be set straight. UGCC did not achieve independence, no matter the argument that people will raise that J.B. Dankwa said independence in the shortest possible time. Ghana achieved independence in that shortest possible time, and so on. On record, it is the CPP that achieved independence. So on that note, the UGCC failed. The leaders of the UGCC could not achieve or win independence or self-government for the country. And so sometimes, it even baffles my mind why the Founders Day holiday should be situated on that day. I don't have a problem with we celebrating everybody. Yes, I agree. Everybody must be celebrated. It's not only Nkrumah who fought for independence. However, for you to come out with an argument that we should celebrate everybody because it is not only Nkrumah who helped the country to gain independence, which I totally agree and support that idea. Then, for you to take away the Founders Day on Nkrumah's birthday from 21st of September to 4th August, representing the founding day of the UGCC, that is where I have a problem in there. You understand? Because it could have been any other day. If you don't want it to be on Nkrumah's birthday, the Founders Day could have been celebrated on any other day. Even on 24th February, when the UGCC, the party members were arrested because of the 1948 rout, you could have, situated the date, the Founders Day, because they were arrested on that day. You could have situated the date on that day, 24th February. But for you to take that date and fix it on the day that your forefathers or your your generation, your forefathers, I should say, established their first political party. And we know that Kwame Nkrumah was not part of the establishment of the UGCC party. Kwame Nkrumah was not part. And so for you to have put the date on 4th August, it's really problematic, it's really problematic. And so that is why I have issues with that Founders Day. Although the only issue I have is the date set for that. I don't have any problem with we celebrating everybody. It's good we celebrate everybody, but on that day, no. It could be any other day. Of course, like I have said, the 24th February was when they were all arrested. That day could have been used. Nkrumah was part of the arrest. And so, yeah, that is something. And I know you've heard about that. You've heard about that, of course, conversation. I don't want to mention anybody's name. That is why I'm being neutral and not putting anybody's name across. But they know themselves. So let's move on. So the party was also not organized as a mass political party. It concentrated its effort within the educated elite, and also branches were open mainly in cities and towns, neglecting the rural folks. So you recall that the party, we said, was made up of lawyers, teachers, businessmen, elite in the society. So these lawyers did not come down to the local level. The market women, the laborers on the street, these lawyers and co did not come down to them. They did not really seek for their support. They felt that maybe they, by their education, could navigate their way through in attaining independence for the country. And so they really did not, include some of these people. But hey, that is what, it all means. So that is the whole thing. So mainly it was just because of that, okay? Cities and towns were being neglected. Now, even the parties, the party offices that they opened were not even in the rural areas. Most of them were found in the cities, okay, and towns. So the village folks who formed the majority of the population knew nothing about the UGCC. And you can't have a political party without having a mass, support. Let me tell you, in Ghana, when the market woman gives you support, that we support you, you are going to win this election, that is it, you have won. You will win it. Market women, they are very powerful, I'm telling you. But these UGCC officials felt that they were lawyers, they could do it on their own, and so they did not actually had the mass support of the people. And this was one advantage that the CPP, which we will look at later, had over the UGCC. The Nkrumah, because he was not coming from an affluent background, so he could associate himself with the masses, and they loved him for that. All right, so that also went against them, and so they lost in the first election of the country somewhere in 1956 or one or so. I'm not too quite sure. But so let's move on to the next one. The next failure of the UGCC was the absence of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Now, his absence also crippled the organizational abilities of the UGCC. Now, Nkrumah was seen as the driving force in the enlisting of the masses to the cause of the UGCC. Okay, the party therefore came to lack a broader support base. So, like I indicated earlier, Nkrumah was not from an affluent home, and so he was the one who was galvanizing who was championing the support of the local people, the masses. However, Nkrumah, because of ideological differences, had to leave the UGCC. And so when Nkrumah left, that also affected the organizational ability of the UGCC, because there wasn't actually any full-time person, somebody who was dedicated to the work of the UGCC. We have said that the founding fathers were businessmen and lawyers who were doing their own thing. The UGCC was just a part-time job for them. And so when Nkrumah left, nobody was there to work as full-time for the UGCC. And that also crippled the organization to lose fame among the people. And that could be considered as a failure of the UGCC. The next one was that the UGCC was also in agreement with Nkrumah over strategy, ideology, and the timing of independence. Also was a failure of the UGCC. You see, when the UGCC members invited Nkrumah over, they failed to reason with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Even though Nkrumah had different ideas with regards to the strategy to achieve independence, Nkrumah wanted a more radical approach to achieving independence because he felt that, when you smile with the colonial master too much, he might not take you serious. So Nkrumah actually, he wanted a more radical, instead of the legal constitutional means, diplomatic way that the leaders of the UGGC were seeking ideologically. All right. Also, timing of the independence. Nkrumah felt that the independence should be won now. We need it now. We don't need it in the shortest possible time. What time is the shortest possible time? And so that also brought about some conflicts between the Nkrumah and the members of the CPP, the UGCC, especially Dr. J.B. Dankwa. This development led to the resignation of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah as his energetic secretary to form his own party, and this affected the UGCC's organization and support base. Yeah, so he left and also went in there to form his own political party, which will be known as the Convention's People's Party, the CPP, which we will look at in our next 2 or so lessons. Good. So I think this and many more were some of the failures of the UGGC. Good. So we have come to an end in today's lesson. We looked at the achievements of the UGCC, and we also looked at the failures of the UGCC. And I am pretty sure that when you meet any of these questions anywhere, you will not disappoint. All right, so you try your hands on this. List any 3 leaders of the United Gold Coast Convention. And this was WASI just 2021, right? So last year, so just last year, they were asked to mention 3 leaders of the United Gold Coast Conventions. And then also identify 4 reasons for the formation of the UGCC. And this could be found in our first lesson. This could be found in our first lesson, the reasons for the formation of the UGC. So the part 1 of this lesson, you can find the answer for it.